He looks like he's star.
What's the
like
deal?
a chocolate candy.
How you feel? How you
She
feel?
looks like a movie star. Like a chocolate candy bar.
Uh-huh.
All right, Tony me.
No, wait a minute, Miss,
Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is
Garrett Hunter.
Mike.
Hey y'all, it is Reecie Colbert filling in for the Professor Karen Hunter on the Karen Hunter Show, SiriusXM UrbanView, channel 126. Today is Tuesday, September 13th, 2022, and I am so thrilled to be with you all today. I'm going to bring in my girl, my good sis. She rocked the show with me last time. She is founder of the Reframed Brain podcast, the one and only Erica Savage Wilson. Hey, sis.
What's going on, sis? Hello to Queen Karen Hunter and the Karen Rebels. Good to be with you all today.
I don't know why Karen ain't here, y'all, but hopefully she's doing something fabulous, and I appreciate it. Thank you so much for passing the mic to me. I have to start off the show, though, by saying, again, congratulations to my bro, my guy, my love, Clay Kane. Yesterday, he celebrated 1,000 episodes of the Clay Kane Show. So a big congratulations. I'll tell him again on Thursday when I see him. But I have to say, again, congratulations to Clay Kane. He's the one who started me off on SiriusXM UrbanView. Of course, you have to have the blessing of the mother, the queen, Karen Hunter, but I gotta always show love to Clay. So, Eric, I'm gonna be honest with you. I was just saying this before we got on air. I was like, oh Lord, I'm hosting. Ain't nobody got nothing going on but this whole Queen Elizabeth shit. Cause like I don't want to spend 3 hours trying to fill up a show with Queen Elizabeth because we don't really care that much. I don't care that much. But luckily, the news gods have smiled down upon us and given us a lot to talk about today. So before I get into our first topics, let me first start off by saying that in the 4 o'clock hour, we will be joined by my mentor, my big sis, the Star Jones, who is the new judge of divorce court. So she is going to be joining us in the 4 o'clock hour to talk about the new season. I've seen several shows. I absolutely love it. I'll be honest, I didn't really watch Divorce Court before. I'm more like a People's Court, Judge Judy. But with Star on the show, I'm like, oh yeah, this is must-see TV. So she's joining us in the 4 o'clock hour. And I didn't forget that today is Tech Tuesday. So we have a tech expert, Mutale and Nkonde, who's going to be joining us in the 5 o'clock hour. So we got a lot going on. But first, we got to start off by talking about the Emmys. Did you watch it last night or did you catch the clips on Twitter?
I caught the clips on Twitter because I was in the bed at 8:30. So
okay. You know, I wasn't planning on watching it because I'm one of those people. I'm like, you know, I like to see the outfits, but I just catch whatever happened on Twitter. I'll catch the highlights later because I'm not really into these white award shows like that, you know. But I did see that Sheryl Lee Ralph won on Twitter. So I was like, okay, hold on. She won. Oh my God, she won. So like Issa Rae, I'm rooting for everybody Black. So I had to kind of at least tune in to some of the action around that. If you caught the show, if you have something to say about last night's Emmys, you can call in and chime in on our discussion. The number is 866-801-8255. Karen Rebels, we love to hear from you. But let me start off by saying that Sheryl Lee Ralph won the Emmy for Best Supporting Actress for Abbott Elementary, which makes her only the second Black woman to win that category in the past 25 years.
That is crazy.
I'm like, I'm sorry. I think Black women are funny as shit. Okay. So I'm trying to figure out how only one other Black woman, which Jackie Harry is the bomb. She is the bomb. But she is not the only funny Black woman or the only funny comedian in the last 25 years. So that in and of itself is absolutely crazy that she's the second person to win, which is exactly why I don't really fool with these white award shows. But I was so thrilled for her winning. She looked, let me tell you something. I'm gonna go to her speech first, but before I get to that, I have to say I've met Sheryl Lee Ralph, the diva, the queen herself, when I was in North Carolina for South Carolina for Madam Vice President's presidential campaign.
Wow.
Yes. So VP did a black people always say black, that she don't do that a black woman's weekend in South Carolina, and she brought in, you know, some heavy hitters. I think that Sheryl Lee Ralph is a heavy hitter. Okay. And so she is just drop dead gorgeous. Oh my God, she's so stunning in person. Like, I know everybody look good with filters and stuff, and you can make yourself look good, including me. Filters do me some good too, but in person, she's just drop dead gorgeous, and she just has this aura of like just super. Have you?
She's majestic.
Yes. Oh my God, that's exactly the right word. She's majestic and just, but still down to earth. And I have to say, I used her as bait to get this older Black gentleman, because we went door knocking to let people know about a rally that night. And so I said, to the gentleman, I said, Sheryl Lee Ralph is going to be at the event tonight. As soon as he heard Sheryl Lee Ralph, he was like, I'm there.
He started getting dressed, Reecie.
He did. He was, because at first he was like, you know, kind of on the fence, you know, but then when I said, Sheryl Lee Ralph is going to be at the thing tonight, he was like, oh, okay, I'm there. And he came, he did show up, and he got to meet VP. And he made quite an impression on VP too, by the way. She told me about him afterwards. She said he told her at the rally, he said to VP, he goes, oh, I wish, what did he say? Dang, she told me the story. He said, oh, I wish I had a twin, or I wish I had a clone, or something like that. And she said, oh, really? Why is that? And he said, so I can vote for you twice. So he was all for VP. He was all for Sheryl Lee Ralph. So anyway, long story long, Sheryl Lee Ralph was there. And I'm going to get to the next part of the story on the other side of this clip. But here is Sheryl Lee Ralph accepting the award for Best Supporting Actress for her work on Abbott Elementary.
Am an endangered species, but I sing no victim song. I am a woman, I am an artist, and I know where my voice belongs.
1 minute.
To anyone who has ever had a dream and thought your dream wouldn't, couldn't come true, I am here to tell you that this is what believing looks like. This is what striving looks like. And don't you ever give up on you, because if you get a Quinta Brunson in your corner, if you get a husband like mine in your corner, if you get children like mine in your corner,
10 seconds, mic's on.
like everybody who voted for me, cheered for me, loved me. Thank you.
Woo! Yes, give the queen her flowers while they can still smell them.
Ooh,
yes, Erica, what's your
God.
reaction to that just magnificent acceptance speech?
This is the Twitter world that I want to wake up to.
Okay.
I felt that every word that she said, when she talked about holding the line, when she took me out is when she said, this is what believing looks like. And you described having met her, having essentially being involved politically with her, because what she did was a political action, to see that side of her, and then to see this side of her presence, that permeated every cell in my soul. And I am so excited
Yes.
for this profound win. And I agree with you that it should have definitely been more Black women, because we know if we take a cursory look across the internet, people do make fortunes imitating and pretending to be Black women, so to speak. We'll say that. Yeah.
Ooh,
so
spill the
we
tea.
know Black women are pretty much the standard, so that we do know. But that was a moment, I feel like that was a moment for the culture. And I'm so excited for her children, with the way her son has been celebrating her. I hope this continues throughout the remainder of the year. Sheryl Lee Ralph is so deserving of every good and perfect gift. And I'm glad that she got this opportunity to have it on a stage like the Emmys. Kudos to Sheryl Lee Ralph.
Oh yes, absolutely. And really, I'm glad you mentioned the part about her kids. Well, not kids, but her, her children, kids, whatever you want to say. Celebrating, because we're both mothers. So for me, I just think like, I just hope that like I live long enough for my daughter to grow up and see things that I'm doing and be proud of what I'm doing and be like, my mama is the bomb. Like, she got it together. That's my mama. Like, isn't that like a dream that we all have? So I love that for her. I love that for the culture. And that really who she is authentically. In South Carolina, we was down there in South Carolina for VP's campaign. She wasn't polling well, and it was a rough period. But we all went down there on our own dime because we had the conviction of like, she needs to be the next president of the United States. Thankfully, she became the next vice president. That's a nice consolation. But she sang that song. That exact, and I actually have it on my Twitter somewhere. I'm gonna try to find it and I'm gonna retweet it if I can find it. I have the video in my phone somewhere of her singing that exact song. And it was a group of maybe 25 of us in a small room in South Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina. And that was her rallying cry or call or song before we went out to door knock that day for VP. So that's who she is. It's not just about putting on in front of a global television audience. That's who she was in that room with just regular schmegular people like us, just trying to motivate us. So I love, love, love that moment. If you have something to say about that resonated with you, I think Loree Daniel Favors would appreciate that kind of positivity.
Okay.
That's something I can hear on Loree show. Like she gives you that motivation too. But yeah, call in 866-801-8255. But listen, so we covered the positives. It was also positive. Lizzo won for best reality show. I haven't checked out her reality show, but I love that for her. Every week she's trending. She getting dragged into some stuff. They just hate her confidence. And it seems like, when she was like, on the internet, just going viral, doing fluting and twerking, nobody had a problem. But especially when you're a Black woman, when you get more successful, the daggers come out. So I was really happy for her and saying, like, for the big girls, for Black women, for women that look like me, I was happy for her. And then, of course, we have Quinta Brunson, who won the writing Emmy for Abbott Elementary. And of course, whenever Black people get some kind of shine, whenever Black people got something going on, some foolishness has to happen. This time, it wasn't a Will Smith moment, but it would have called for a Will Smith moment by my judgment. But Jimmy, dumbass Kimmel, to be fair, he was on the ground doing this a little bit before the winner for that category was announced. But when you have a moment like Quinta getting the award, it's especially significant because she's a Black woman winning this award. I think she's only the second or third Black woman to win that award. The last one was Larry Wilmore for Bernie Mac. Okay. Bernie Mac show. How long ago was that? So
Right.
you have to have some sort of cultural competency, some kind of awareness, some kind of truth about yourself from home training, and realize like, okay, I know I want to do the big, but maybe this ain't. That's what the Oscars should have taught people. Maybe not every time is the time to land that joke. Sometimes you got to keep that joke in the chamber, okay, so that the moment is not kind of lost or it's kind of, you know, going the wrong way. So anyway, when Quinta went up to give her speech, Jimmy Kimmel laid his ass down on the ground the entire time of her speech. I mean, in the shot, every picture you see, every video, he's on the ground, right? Practically just steps away from her while she's trying to give her speech. This is what she had to say about Jimmy Kimmel laying his dumb ass on the ground during her speech.
I'm so glad that you won and you got the moment on stage. It was a little bit confusing when Jimmy Kimmel wouldn't get up, and I was wondering what was going through your mind at that moment, and if you have any thoughts on having that happen during your speech.
I don't know. I don't really. I know Jimmy Kimmel, and I don't know. I felt like the bit didn't bother me that much. I don't know what the internet thinks, but I don't know. I know him. Honestly, it was kind of, Jimmy gave me my first like big late night spot and was one of the first people to see Abbott. And one of the first people, he Instagram messaged me that he saw this comedy and thought it was one of the greatest comedies of all time. And he was so excited it was going to be on ABC. So I think in that moment, I was just really happy that it was Jimmy up there. I kind of consider him one of the comedy godfathers.
10 seconds, mic's on.
I was wrapped up in the moment. I don't know. Tomorrow, maybe I'll be mad at him. I'm going to be on his show on Wednesday, so I might punch him in the face. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, that's the I might punch him on the face. That's the real girl. That's how you really feel, Quinta. But we know that when you Black, you can't sit up there and drag the white man on TV because then they be on her ass for dragging him, even though he was the one that was in the wrong. What do you think just about the whole situation and her response, which was very gracious to Jimmy Kimmel?
Yeah, I think that it really speaks to the conditioning. Definitely shout out to Quinta Brunson. The people that have been watching this show have been folks that have been connected with the culture. We love to see one of our own doing well. So Sans and Jimmy Kimmel, the show was going to be a hit, period. What I think about what I saw is it immediately took me back to what happened with Serena, with that white woman who took an opportunity to take a jab at
Jan Campion.
Okay, then there's Karen. So yeah, Jane Karen, she took that opportunity to rope in, and sorry for that word, rope in a Black woman into something when she was just minding her Black ass business.
Like, why am I
minding her Black business?
Yes.
So here we are again. I mean, Quinta's receiving an award, and comedian or not, there's still no excuse for him over my dead body, whatever his joke was, for him laying flat on his back. He should not have, because you wouldn't do that in the drive-thru. I mean, because you know what's going to happen. So there is no point in doing that. You have a show where you can be as clownish as you want to be for however long that show is on. I don't watch late night television, so I care nothing about any of those people. So to me, it really goes back to the conditioning. And this is what happens when a community, a culture continue to be centered and they rightfully don't have that reason to be centered. Like whiteness being centered for everything and everything having to really condition and kind of move itself around that. This is what happens, because when that becomes the case, well, then I was just being. So what's the problem with we just being? Everybody needs to adapt around that. Instead of him being jacked up, or somebody's security should have came and picked him up and drug him off the stage.
Period.
That would be an example of you cannot center you, whiteness, your behavior in everything that exists. It's not all about you.
Right. No, I mean,
Yeah.
I agree. That's why I wasn't one of the people that condemn Will Smith. I was like, sometimes you need to slap people, and I don't think people get slapped enough.
Yeah.
I'm not calling for violence against Jimmy Kimmel, but what I'm saying is that sometimes you need a Will Smith, you need some Will Smith energy to be like, get the hell off the stage, stand up. Like, the audience
Yeah.
might not know that reference, but you know the viral girl who goes, stand up. Like, just stand up and get your ass up. And I know some people are like, well, yeah, I got to make it a race thing. It don't have nothing to do with her being a Black woman. It ain't always
Sure it
about race.
does.
He was just being funny. Da 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 da. Okay, that's fine. That's fine if that's your attitude. However, it just goes back to the sense of entitlement and just the lack of concern, and just people don't take that beat to say, you know what, should I consider this Black woman's feelings in this moment? You know, and he just didn't take that beat. Let's go to a call though. If you have more to say on this, 866-801-8255. Bats from Texas. Welcome to the Karen Hunter Show. What's your comment?
Hi, ladies. How you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Doing good. Thank you.
I can't complain. I'm so happy to be able to have this conversation with you guys about this incident. What I wanted to bring to the table, Reece, is I think that you have to be aware of cultural appropriation, and I don't think that he was aware. And let me tell you why I say that. Because I think that if this had happened at, say, like the BET Awards, where that award is primarily, it used to be, but we're not gonna go there, but primarily a Black award, to where the culture of that award is understood. We're still dealing with the Emmys. And if we're talking about a beautiful Black queen who has a wonderful show, finally winning an award in how long? Over 3 decades? That should let us know that cultural appropriation for those award shows won't be acknowledged there. So I'm not taking up for Jimmy. Believe me, I'm not, because he's a dumbass for doing it. But I just think that if you're not aware of the cultural appropriation for that environment, it doesn't bother you as much as it would be if he had done that shit at the BET Award. You know what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying. You're saying that basically they don't know no better, and we shouldn't expect better from them because that's how people act. Is that what I mean? That's my takeaway from it. Or that's not what you said?
Well, I mean, Reece, I know you can only put it in your words and terms. So yeah.
No, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, it's, sometimes like we comment on things and we gotta, get our little, finger wagging. We gotta drag somebody. But at the end of the day, we don't really expect that much different. Like, it's bound to be some foolishness, because that's just what happens when you have Black people in these spaces where, to Bat's points, we're not centered. We're not necessarily the default in there. We're still visitors. We're still like, oh, welcome here. We're gonna all kind of roll out the red carpet for you, but not really. Erica, what's your response?
Yeah, I hear what he's saying, and shout out to you, brother. I still think that there is accountability, because when you mention the cultural appropriation, they definitely do know Columbusing very well. They know how to lift something that doesn't belong to them. And Kimmel did have some receipts come out of him doing blackface and stepping on other Black people's moments. So he has a history of it. I think that there's no consequences in it, because as I was saying before, Black people have been so conditioned to, this is the way we move around folks that don't look like us. And then those folks are always centered in everything. So, and if there's something that comes to them that doesn't make them feel comfortable, well, then it's time for the wet nurse, the mammy, the counselor to come and make them feel better about their own behavior. So again, like, nobody walks into a bank with a ski mask unless they understand there's heat coming from the other side. Nobody lays in the drive-through, because you do understand that there are vehicles that are passing through that. So the same thing, he understood exactly what he was doing in that moment. The same way he understood there wouldn't be any consequences. He's going to have it on the show Wednesday. It's all going to be well, and people will move on from it. But for those of us that are putting our finger and saying, we see you, Jimmy, you still a Jack A, and may your show be over sooner than you think. I mean, like that version of Twitter, that version of the internet is still out there and very pronounced, but he knew what he was doing.
Thank you, Bats, for your call. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we're gonna give you the smoke. Okay, Quinta can't do it, but we can do it. That's what we here for. We here to drag a mofo that need to be dragged, because don't do that. You have to know that at a minimum, Black Twitter is gonna be that little angel on the side that says, don't try it with her. Don't try it with this one. Okay,
Right.
let's go to Russell in South Carolina. Welcome to the show, Russell.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Reecie.
Yes. Hi, Reese. This is Reece.
I enjoy so much what you do. I love listening to you. I just had a quick comment on the Jimmy Kimmel situation last night. It reminded me of when Kanye West stole, what's the
Taylor
Swift moment. It's just unfortunate that they didn't have someone that Sheryl Lee Ralph didn't go after Quinta, where she could have stopped the cameras and said, let's give her flowers. Let's not let Jimmy Kimmel steal her moment. I think that was, what he did was totally inappropriate. But he's a comedian, and the sad part is he'll probably get an Emmy for it. So, what's he gonna do?
But you are so right, Russell. Remember, Erica, when Kanye's a jackass. I'm definitely like way, way off the Kanye train. After slavery was a choice, I was done with Kanye. But when he interrupted, Taylor, now granted, that wasn't a joke. That was a slightly different situation, but he was crucified for that. I mean, even President Obama called him a jackass on a hot mic. But I wouldn't expect that level of a reaction when it comes to Quinta, but it is interesting. Russell does bring up a good point about kind of a little bit of a double standard there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Black women are always kind of expected to take the high road. And so because we've always been in the labor force, always been working, we're not, we have an understanding of what hard knocks life look like, and white women have not necessarily had to share that struggle. Not to say that there are not white women that have, but I mean, you look at, through time, who took care of other people's babies, washed other people's clothes? That was usually Black women and girls that had to do that, mind you, girls. So white women have the luxury of being coddled and being put into a more fragile state, where it's like Black women take it on the chin and keep going. No, he deserves all of the smoke for all of 2022. He really does.
The rest of the year.
Girl, yes.
If I could remember correctly, I think it was Beyoncé that brought Taylor Swift back up when she won the award or something like that.
I remember seeing her sit in the audience. I don't know if she brought her back up to the stage.
I feel like she did. That's why I like what Russell said. I like what Russell said, that, if somebody would have came up afterward and been said, like, Quinta, come back up here. But at the end of the day, she handled it the best way that she could have. I think she's being gracious. Like I said, leave the dirty work to the rest of us and let us drag him. Before I go to the next slide, I do want to mention, though, it was reported that the Abbott Elementary cast or show, rather than spending money on, like, when people win these awards, there's a whole campaign to win the awards. There's a schmoozing campaign that happens. Rather than spending the money on promoting the show for the awards season, they donated the money to Philadelphia schools. So shout out to Abbott Elementary, just making the world a better place. Okay.
And then, the promo budget, honey.
Yes, and I'm sure it must have been a little nice budget too. But the other thing I do want to say too, and I'm going to take a couple more calls on this, is, there's always this talk. There's always this respectability politics around Black people, around Black women in particular. They mad if you're twerking, mad if you're doing cussing, mad if you're doing X, Y, Z. And so I hope that people can really, season 2 of Abbott Elementary, let's make sure it doesn't fall off, because this is a very wholesome and still funny show that portrays Black people in a very positive light, portrays everybody in a positive light. So that's that energy that you have to drag Lizzo for being her size and for being confident, or dragging Megan Thee Stallion because she's twerking, or the City Girls, or whoever. Make sure you have that same amount of enthusiasm for supporting Abbott Elementary. Since that's
Please and
that's
thank
what we're
you.
supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be like that all the time. Then make sure they get a season 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay.
Right.
All right, let's go to Joe in Texas. We're still taking calls 866-801-8255. Joe in Texas. Welcome to the Karen Hunter Show.
Good afternoon. Hey, I have a problem with answering this question to my coworkers because I work in an entirely white environment, and their argument is, excuse my language because I don't make a lot of phone calls in the call-in shows, but I was listening to y'all today, so it just felt appropriate. Their argument is that Black people try to always say how white lives are, but if a white person tries to say something about a Black person, the Black person gets to say, oh, you don't know me because you're not Black. You don't know my experiences. So it seems to be a double standard, and I really don't know how to answer that because it makes a little bit of sense in that, you know, and I just heard the comment about how the white women were coddled. Well, I know my grandmother and my mother weren't coddled. Now, I know you preface that with not all women, but, you know, it's still a blanket statement, and it kind of, people like me that like to listen to your show and like to learn and try to, you know, learn history and learn the differences between the cultures and the races. Those kind of things, when y'all say that, really kind of turn me off because my mother wasn't rich. My grandmother wasn't rich. My great-great-grandparents came from Ukraine and Poland. So they weren't rich. So it, you know, I understand their generalities and I understand, you know, when something is said like that, it's a general statement, not an individual statement. But back to my original question. How do we come to that? If one section of people can't tell what another section's life is, then how does one get to do it to others?
Well, Joe, I mean, I think you at least acknowledge that the statements don't apply to every single individual in every race, right? I mean, we can't, it would be too long to say not all, not all, not all after every single statement. I think the privilege, white privilege, let's start there, is not a matter of socioeconomic status. It is not a matter of your personal experiences and what you may have to deal with. Maybe white people get divorced, white people go broke, white people lose their job, white people get cancer, white people get shot by the police, white people have a whole range of negative experiences that everybody has. Everybody has those experiences. There are certain things that are just nobody's immune to. But when we talk about things like white privilege, when we talk about things like racism, what we're talking about, number one, is the benefit of the doubt. You're white, because you're white, your humanity is the given in the equation. That's not the same for Black women. Because you're white, your value is given in the equation. When Erica, and I'll let her speak to what she meant by coddling, but when a white woman experiences a harm, particularly at the hands of a Black person, then there is a recourse for that. There is a galvanization around that, like we talked about with Taylor Swift, as opposed to if a Black person does it, is get over it. You're overreacting. You're making it about race, yada, 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 and diminishing that experience. So when I don't know exactly what you mean by people comment on white lives, but white people can't comment on Black lives. I don't think that we can say from a position of authority what it's like to be a white person in America. I can't. But what I can say is I understand a lot more about what it takes to maneuver in a white world than a white person can understand about what it takes to maneuver in a Black world. Just look at what Prince Harry has talked about, what he's experienced with his wife, Meghan Markle, and how insulated he was from what Black people experience because he wasn't with a Black woman. So that's kind of what we're getting at. It's not to say that we're the authority on white people and vice versa. Nobody can be the authority on anybody's individual life because we're all walking our own individual steps. But there are just certain experiences, there's certain competencies that we acquire because we have no choice but to, that white folks can have the privilege, and that's where the privilege thing comes in, of being oblivious to. So Erica, what's your response? And then I'll go back to Joe for the final comment.
Sure, you laid it out perfectly. And that's why I said when I started my comment, not all, But we have to reconcile with history, which is something that is very fraught and something that this country has not been able to do historically over its existence over 200 years. So when I talk about Black women not having the luxury, goes back to then that centering and conditioning. You know, where else are folks going to actually learn about other people's experiences and to really gain clarity around what those experiences mean, and then take that and then spread that within their own ecosystem? Well, for Black people, has been a mechanism of survival. Cicely Tyson gave an interview to Gayle King years ago when she talked about this ladder. And the top of the ladder was a white man, under that's a white woman, then a Black man. And at the bottom of the ladder, essentially, is the Black woman. And what she has to do is look up through all of those experiences in order to navigate the world. That's what it is like to her. So when I talk about, or when I said rather that there generally, not generally, but there's not been this coddling, not all, but most of the white women have had a luxury of not having to be in the labor force. History backs that up. And that is the truth of the matter. It might not make one feel good, but imagine what it is like to have been in the family of that person that had to give that type of work without or with very little payment. That's a real life truth that we have to live with. So that's what I meant. And I definitely stand by that because it is historically accurate.
Joe, final comment?
No, just listening. No more questions, no more comments. Enjoy the show. And, we could all be kind, just like you ladies were to me. And hopefully I were to you. And if everybody did that, it'd be a better world. Enjoy the show. Thank you. And have a great day.
Thank you, Joe.
Have a good day, Joe.
Look at that.
Yeah.
That's good. I appreciate sometimes we do be ready to pull our dukes up. It's not okay. How you coming at me? I know you're not trying to woo, woo, woo. You know what I'm saying? I was initially thinking that that's what the kind of call was going to be like, but ultimately, especially in this particular space, that's about learning, empowering, enlightening each other of any race. It's good to be able to have a conversation. And I appreciate that he said, I'm just listening because, if he was a troll, he would have came back and, well, what about, but I hope that, we helped bring clarity to everybody listening to the show today. We have a lot of calls. Tracy, Carolyn, Betty will get to you right after the break. It's Reecie Colbert filling in for the Karen Hunter with my girl, Erica Savage Wilson. Be right back. Hey, y'all. Hey, Karen Rebels. You are listening to Reecie Colbert filling in for Karen Hunter, the professor, along with my girl, Erica Savage Wilson. It's a SiriusXM UrbanView Karen Hunter show. Hey, Erica.
What's going on, Reecie? What's up, Karen Rebels? Shout out to Karen Hunter, queen.
Shout out. I hope you're having a good day, Professor.
Yes,
we were just over here grooving to Beyonce. Eric, I gotta say, and I'm gonna get to the more calls in a couple seconds, but I will be remiss if I didn't say I'm so obsessed with Beyonce's Renaissance album. Like this is there's got to be like sonic crack in there somewhere because I cannot stop listening to it. And I wrote I just released today, breaking news. I just released my second book on the midterms. It's called The Long and Short of It Guide to the 2022 Midterms Must Watch Races. It's available in paperback on Amazon. The Kindle version will be available in a couple of days as well. Go ahead and cop that. The first one was Long and Short of It Guide 2022 Midterms, The Radical Republicans. I got two books now. Beyonce is the only thing I could listen to and write. I mean, I've listened to her album 300 times because I could just put that album on and just zone out and really, it just gets into your veins, doesn't it, Erica? Like, it's crazy,
girl,
right?
It does. I mean, so shout out to my partner. He literally listened to it before I did. So he was up for the midnight. Of course, I was asleep. So like the next day, the house was nothing short of Renaissance. And I have to tell you, baby, my plants responded very nicely to Beyonce, honey. Okay. When I tell you we had new leaves, I was like, okay, Beyonce is giving.
Yes.
I mean, literally, my Birds of Paradise, my ZZ, it was like a few plants. I was like, they really like Renaissance. So shout out to Beyonce, everybody that was involved in the project. It is giving, sis. I'm with you. So it's no surprise how you were able to drop these wonderful, much needed, best-selling books, sis.
Yes, let's hope it gets there, y'all. I don't know if people were just being nice, like, oh, I like Reece, I'm gonna buy her book, but I ain't really gonna, or if there's a demand for it. I hope there's a demand for it, child, because I done wrote it already. Okay, so y'all can go ahead and cop that. It's called The Long and Short of the Guide to the 2022 Midterms Must-Watch Races. This book, where it's different from the last book, is actually a compare and contrast. It's very policy detailed, but still concise, still in my Reecie speak, comparing the key races. We have 6 gubernatorial races. So of course, everybody wants to know about Stacey Abrams and Brian Kemp. People want to know about Charlie Crist versus Ron DeSantis, Beto versus Greg Abbott, Mastriano's crazy ass up there in Pennsylvania versus Josh Shapiro. Who's the other people? Oh, Wes Moore in Maryland.
Yeah.
The very charismatic, very handsome, very wealthy Black guy who could be the first Black governor of Maryland is also profiled in the book, and he got a crazy competitor, Dan Cox, so he should win that race as well. And then, of course, I have the Senate races. Nobody is talking about some of these crazy people. Blake Masters, so racist. He's going up against Mark Kelly in Arizona. I have Catherine Cortez Masto versus Adam Laxalt, whose family wrote in 2018 that he ain't shit, don't even vote for him for governor. So they really don't like him. Girl, I'm dropping all kind of tea in this book, so y'all going ahead and cop that. But anyway, let's get back to the subject at hand. We were talking about the Emmys. We got some calls to get through, 866-801-8255. Before I get to that, though, I want to say shout out to Zendaya. I'm always saying people's names wrong. Is it Zendaya? How you say it? Zendaya?
We're sisters, so we do the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I still call Idris. I call him Idris. I say Marseille. I'm always messing up people's names. I just put a little Cali spin on it. But shout out to her. She is the first Black woman to win back to back. 2 times the best actress in a drama. I know people was bad too, like Laura Linney. She didn't get up Ozark. Some other people didn't get it. Chad, the white folks get the awards every time. Let a Black person win back to back every now and again. Okay, so shout out to her. And shout out to all the Black winners. I don't know every single Black winner. Oh, Jared Carmichael, he won right for stand up. Somebody, y'all can call in and shout out another Black winner if I missed somebody. But anyway, let's go to Tracy in Michigan with a comment on Jimmy Kimmel. Tracy, what's your comment? Welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, ladies.
Good afternoon.
I had issues with it because I'm an entertainer, and usually the worst, most distracting thing is for someone to upstage you, and especially if for a joke. And as Dr. Francis Welty would say, or Joe Madison, he marginalized her accomplishment by doing that, because it took the focus off of her and put it on himself.
Speak on it.
Period.
Thank you.
That's my comment.
Thank you, Tracy. Let's go to Carolyn in North Carolina. Hey, Carolyn, welcome to the show.
Hi, Reecie.
Hi.
I just want to say I love you, and don't lose your edge, Reecie. Don't let them people tell you nothing. Every now and again, you need a good cuss word to make your point, you know? But let me just say, I just want to respond to Joe, who said he was like one of and worked with a lot of white people, and they say, why is it a white person can't do, some things that Black people can do? And there is a very substantial difference. Black people, that's because, and no, they can't do what we do because they don't have the experience that we have. Black people have worked in their homes, cleaned their houses. We took care of their babies. You understand? We work on their jobs. If we want a decent vegetable, we have to go to their neighborhood. We were blessed when I was young, and we used to leave the neighborhood because we had a car. We was one of the few who had a car. So we would go to Yonkers. I'm from New York originally. We would go to New Jersey, you know, to get some decent food, you know, at a decent price too.
Right.
Okay. So if you want a job, you got to go to them, you know, and even some of us even go to their churches, but they don't come to ours.
Except for election season,
so,
right?
You know, because if you see white pastors on television, Black people sprinkled there. But if you see TD Jakes, you ain't gonna hardly see no white people in that audience, as big as that church is. Okay, so that's why we can speak on things, because we've had both experiences.
Right.
They have not had our experience because they don't have to.
Right. That's true.
We've had to. You know, and so that's why we can speak on stuff and no, they can't speak on it. And if they do, they're gonna have a problem.
that's the part that she said, if they do, then we're gonna have a problem. Energy. Okay, energy. Thank you, Carolyn, for your call. Period. I like that. Don't speak on it unless you want to have a problem, point blank in the period. Let's go to Cynthia in North Carolina. Cynthia, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for taking my call. One thing I wanted to respond to is that bothers me when we have to make a disclaimer up front and say, well, I'm not talking about all white people. Why should we have to do that? When something happens with a Black person, it's like we're indicative of the whole race. They don't, if a white person does something, oh, they have a mental illness. They're just, you know, they put all this on them. But when it's us, it's like, okay, that's how they are, you know, and that's what bothers me is like, why should we have to? Well, I don't make a disclaimer because I'm saying so many people, like you said, it's proven in history what has happened, you know, so.
Yeah,
that's what I wanted to say. Is that bothers me. Why should we have to do that? They don't have to do it. We have to talk in code sometimes. They don't have to do that. So they have no clue about telling us how to live. The only people I know, I have two very close white friends. The only reason why, because they know, they understand. I don't have to explain. And some of these people that are so racist will say, well, I have Black friends, but they haven't told you the real deal, because if they did, you wouldn't be saying racism. There's no racism.
That's true, Cynthia. Thank you so much for your call. And you know, it's funny, like when you say you got Black friends, I want to pull the Black friends and say, do they say they have white friends? And are you that white friend? That's what I want to know, because a lot of y'all be thinking that y'all have Black friends, and what you really have is Black associates who just tolerate you because they ain't got no choice because y'all work together. And we can kiki and we can be like, oh, how was your weekend? And da-da-da-da-da. But in reality, we're not friends like that. We're co-workers, we're associates. Okay, be clear. Last call we're gonna go to before the break, and then Erica, I want you to weigh in. Betty from Vegas, welcome to the show.
Hi, Reecie.
Hi.
I love you're doing this show. I just went on Amazon getting ready to get your book. But I did want to say one thing. I think we really have to stop using their award shows as our yardstick of making it. I think we put too much value in getting their awards. We are now in a position that we can have our own award shows, and we can do what matters to us. I think we've got to stop using them as our yardstick. And then the second thing I did want to say is that how can we expect to get a fair shake in the entertainment venue when we can't get that fair shake in society in general? Frankly, I'm tired of explaining to people why they should be good people. I mean, you say you walk around with Jesus do bracelets, but you do everything that Jesus wouldn't do. So you know what? If I have to explain that to you, I ain't got time for that, okay? You know what you do wrong. When white people call in and they say, well, we don't know, we can't say this. Well, you know one thing, you don't walk up to an Italian and you call him a racial name. So you should know not to call us. So they know, but you know, they just want to play that game. And some of them are dumb, okay? Some are stupid, some are dumb. And after Jimmy Kimmel, you have to remember, comedians do dumb shit. And whatever his objective was, whatever, it doesn't matter. And we need to not even look at that as anything big. I mean, as long as I think the woman who won the award, she didn't take too hard of a offense to it. So I don't think we should.
Thank you, Betty. And I agree with so many points that you made. That's why I don't really care too much about the Emmys. I'm more like NAACP Image Awards kind of gal. But yeah, but I do agree with what she said about, you know, they know. If it weren't for the fact that this was a show that we're really here to educate people for, I would have been like, get the hell out of my face with that question. But anyway, Erica, I'm gonna get you to weigh in. We got more to talk about on the other side of this break. I'm Reecie Colbert here with my girl Erica Savage Wilson. We are filling in for the one and only Karen Hunter, SiriusXM UrbanView. We will be right back. Hey, Karen Rebel, SiriusXM UrbanView family. It's your girl Reecie Colbert filling in for Karen Hunter on the Karen Hunter Show. I am joined with my girl, my good sis, founder of the Reframed Brain podcast, Erica Savage Wilson. Hey, girl.
Shout out, author. Hey to the Queen Karen. Shout out to the Karen Rebels.
For people who don't know about your podcast, we had a chance to go in great detail about it the last show. Just give people a quick overview about your podcast, how they can follow you on social media, websites, et cetera, et cetera. Let the people know who they're talking to, girl.
For sure, happy to. So the Reframed Brain podcast debuted January of this year, 2022, and it centers brain health and unseen injuries. I myself am a survivor of a brain injury that left me in a position of a former executive to then a toddler, and I talk and bring people in that have their own unseen injuries from practitioners. We have healthcare agents. We have a myriad of people. It's about under 30 minutes, first and third Monday of the month. So you can catch us on Apple, Google, all the podcast platforms. And we also have it for you on YouTube. You can go to the reframedbrain.com. That's the easiest way to get in touch with the podcast and all the socials.
Y'all need the Reframed Brain in your life. Look, I've said this plenty of times. I don't consider myself one of those like super motivationally type of people. I don't really listen to a lot of podcasts. I don't really listen to a lot of pep talks. But I love what you do, Erica, because it's so practical. I mean, of course, you give us that emotional punch. Of course, you just have this regalness about you and this warmth about you. But for somebody like me, I like practical stuff. So I appreciate that. It gives you actionable steps. Now, I'm always applying because I got my own things I need to work on, or not because I am lazy in some regards. But I like to know what I could be doing if I did decide to apply some life improvement skills. So y'all check out the Reframed Brain. It's available everywhere. The Reframed Brain podcast is something you need in your life. Before the break, we were talking about the Emmys. Y'all can continue to call in about that, 866-801-8255. In a moment, we will be joined by my big sister. I just absolutely love and adore her, the iconic Star Jones, who is the new host of Divorce Court. But before we get to that, we do have to get to a little bit of news out there. Erica, I wanted to talk a bit about this nationwide ban, this legislation that Senator Lindsey Graham introduced today on abortion. Before we get into the conversation, let's just play a clip from Lindsey Graham about this abortion ban he's introducing.
What would you say to somebody like me who found out that their son had an anomaly that would make me compatible like in 16 weeks? I had regular appointments, I did everything right, and at 16 weeks we found out that our son would likely not live. When he was born, he lived for 8 days. He bled from every orifice of his body, but we were allowed to make that choice for him. You would be robbing that choice from those women? What do you say to someone like me?
Here's what I would say. The world pretty much has spoken on this issue. The developed world has said at this stage into the pregnancy, the child feels pain, and we're saying we're going to join the rest of the world and not be like Iran. As to your particular case, there'll be exceptions for life of the mother and rape and incest. But well, ma'am, there were 55,000.
10 seconds, mic's on.
After the 15-week period. And I think we're resolved to get America back in line with the rest of the world.
What the hell did you just say?
Thank you for adding that onto the end of the clip. You know, Erica, and now writing 2 books about the midterms, and in particular, the first book was about Republicans. Lindsey Graham is full of shit on this topic of abortion. Republicans
Period.
want to ban abortion, period. This whole notion of born alive and all this other crap that they're trying to put out there is nothing more than a ruse for distracting from the fact that they want to ban abortion outright. And I find it incredibly insulting the way that they talk about abortions that happen after 15, 16 weeks, as though somebody is just sitting around saying, I want to abort my baby today. I don't know why, I just suddenly changed my mind. You know, people that are having these procedures done at that point, you know, I had a pandemic baby, let me start there. So around 15 weeks, around that time, that's when you're getting your genetic testing. That's when you're finding out, you know, about the viability of your pregnancy overall. So if you're making a decision to terminate a pregnancy at that point, most likely it's because you've gotten some incredibly traumatizing and horrific news about the viability of your pregnancy. And that's what's forcing you to have that procedure done, or there's a medical issue or whatever. So I find that to just be very cruel and heartless to try to characterize those people as though they're just what he called it, abortion on demand in one clip I saw. And then another thing that's just very triggering for me is I remember, in hindsight, this was irrational, but in the moment of, or in those moments of being pregnant, I was deathly afraid of having a stillbirth, having a miscarriage, having anything happen with my pregnancy go wrong. And so I remember reading each week, okay, what's the statistics for this week? And I remember each week tracking the survival rates if I had my baby, you know, early. And it was like 0%. This is in the 20s, right? And then it becomes like 12%. And then it becomes, you know, it inches up each week. So this whole notion that a baby, now it's what could have been a baby if it were viable, nobody can deny that. But this whole notion that a baby is born at 15, 16 weeks is just not, it's so divorced from reality. And it's just cruel. It's really cruel. And so I know my heart goes out to any woman who's forced to make that decision, because I know the kind of heartbreak that comes along with that. And actually in my new book, I talk about Wisconsin Senate candidate, Mandela Barnes. His mother, in a campaign ad for him, talked about how she had to terminate her pregnancy before she had him because of, you know, the viability of her pregnancy. And then you have a woman down in Louisiana who has a baby that cannot, you know, that doesn't have a skull, but she cannot get it. So the baby is going to die. The baby is not going to live, and she cannot have an abortion done in her state because of the Republicans' assault on abortion rights. So when Lindsey Graham and these Republicans are talking about abortion in that time frame, they're not talking about making a civilized decision. They're talking about being cruel towards women who are put in just an impossible situation. Star's coming in a moment, but before we get to her, I just want to get your reaction to this nationwide abortion ban that Lindsey Graham introduced.
The word that you use, cruel, is so appropriate, Reecie, because you mentioned it before. We're both mothers, and thinking about when I had my son, who's now 23 years old, that he went into fetal distress. And we're talking about me about to deliver. And so it had to keep putting oxygen over me, putting me on my right side. So this happened all throughout the night. Well, when it was time for him to be delivered, they had to do an emergency cesarean because he wasn't breathing. So thank God he's alive and flourishing and doing well. But having to then tie that to the woman that's in Louisiana that's going to already, it's a traumatic experience to, number one, be pregnant, and then to actually deliver the child. And then that this child will be delivered essentially only to pass away, that all of those traumas are going to be left with the living person. which is the mother. So to me, to have someone like a slithery, slimy, no backbone Lindsey Graham, who Donald Trump called him anything that you can think of, right? And he said that he would be, a cancer on the party, but he's pretty much a sycophant of now Donald Trump, that this person then comes out and makes this horrific statement, abortions on demand. Ectopic pregnancies, women that have ectopic pregnancies have to essentially have an abortion. And ruptured or unruptured, that is a trauma so to me, for someone who's not a birthing person, someone who's not a woman, to make these declarations about an experience that they know nothing of. And we know that condoms and all of those type of controlling elements have no type of regulation. They're readily available for anybody that needs to use them. To me, is really all the more why people should be more engaged in their state politics. Because when he talks about the developed world, match up the US when we're talking about the number of women that pass away in childbirth. Period. Largely Black women. Talk about healthcare that's available for these children that are coming into this world. Would they be exposed to pollutants and all of these other things? So Lindsey Graham, continue to be a sycophant, because at the moment you bring nothing else to the table. Period. He's not bringing in his politics. He's only bringing what you said before, Reecie, and that's cruelty. And he will have to pay for that. All those bargains that are made, they have to be paid for.
Yeah.
He would not be remembered kindly.
And this is what the Republicans are planning. Make no mistake about this. This is what they're planning if they get the House back, if they get the Senate back, if they get the White House back. It is all out war on women on the national level. Women, I said this last week, we were on Roland Martin Unfiltered show together last week. Every Thursday we're on that show. Women do not have national citizenship anymore.
You did say that, yeah.
Because if you cannot enjoy the same rights, irrespective of where you are in this country, you're not a national citizen anymore. So they are attacking our citizenship in this country. So I'll just end it on this note. On behalf of women and birthing people everywhere, go to hell, bitch, Lindsey Graham, and fuck you very much. Okay. And everybody down with you and down with this cause to further traumatize, humiliate, degrade, and attack women who are put in impossible, horrific circumstances that are just trying to do the best thing that they can do for their bodies, for their mental health, for their future, for their family. Fuck you on behalf of all of those people. So,
okay.
I'm sorry. I just had to put that out there because I cannot not say that. That has to be said. But okay, let's do a Laree Daniel Favors, mama. Let's do a breathe in, breathe out, because we're gonna switch gears. So I'm just gonna help me out, Erica, because I'm not that girl to do that. So help us all reset in that moment. What do we do? How do we do this breathing thing? Help me out.
Proper reset. Fingers, wiggle your fingers a little bit. Toes, wiggle your toes a little bit, just to remind you that you're here, you're connected. And then we're going to breathe in for 6 count. Hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. You're here. Okay. You're present. There you go.
Okay. That's it. That's the reset we needed. Woo, child, the Republicans get me going. But it's a weird transition. That's why we need to do a reset. But I am so happy to have Star Jones with us today.
Ladies.
Hey, Star. Okay, but for the audience, let me just tell you right now that y'all know Star. Star Jones is an icon. She is a world famous attorney. She was one of the OGs on The View. She's irreplaceable at that. Okay, it still ain't been the same since she left, but she is on to bigger and better things. She has her own show now. On the longest, I remember Star mentioning this is the longest running court show on air, Divorce Court. Wow. And so Star is here to talk to us about her new season on divorce court. Welcome to the Karen Hunter Show. Star Jones, I should say Judge Star Jones, aka the Black Judicial Barbie, because Star is looking fabulous on every single episode. Hey, Star.
Thank you, Reecie. Thank you, Erica. Thank you for having me today. Thank you in absentia to our sister Karen, and thank you for welcoming me on your show. I was listening in to the show, as I do often, and listening to the topics that you were going on about and the legal assault that are on women. Boy, I'm glad I can do the frivolous and the frivolity on the divorce court, because it's more than a notion that's happening legally when it comes to women, boy.
It really is. And I want to talk about divorce court, but I also want to talk about, before we get into that, your credentials. Because, you know, you and I, we did a thing together, 2020, going for a girl, vice president, might have been a vice president. And we talked about credentials, not cosmetics. So you have a solid legal background. Okay. You didn't just get to divorce court being a pretty face.
Before you even do me, this is something that I always like to do, especially when I have the privilege of being with other Black women. The reason that you and I actually wrote that piece, I like to remind people, credentials, not cosmetics. And Erica, I want to bring you up to speed on it. The reason we wrote that piece was because a learned Harvard professor, somebody who I actually follow and follow his teachings. He taught some of the best scholars in our nation, Lawrence Tribe. He actually made comments in an article that had to do with the cosmetics of picking Kamala Harris as the vice presidential choice. And it offended me in my core, because as professional Black women, you all know, there's always this undercurrent, like we are there because of something special.
Right.
Okay? Because they need to check a box, or they need to fill a space. Not because we're the best people for the job. And in any professional capacity, I defy you to tell me that a sister can't go toe-to-toe with anybody. White male, white female, other person of color. You could be old, you could be young. You give me a definition of what you want, an objective definition of what you want, I will get you a Black woman that fits that bill in any industry with the credentials that can come in there and do that job. I know that to be fact. And so Reecie and I, when we decided to talk about the vice president and credentials, not cosmetics, we wanted to lay out for people why she was the best choice, was and still is. Anybody who thinks that anybody else standing at that ticket, Biden and this one, Biden and that one, Biden and that one, there would be no President Joseph Robinette Biden. I'm telling you that right now. I've been working in politics for a very long time. I know what the numbers said. So just like living the truth, we can move on past that. We are not trying to do cosmetics, baby. We bring in credentials. And so to get to the divorce court, I bring credentials to the table. That's why they gave me the job. Let's be clear.
Be clear. You better recognize, as you say on the show too. So talk a little bit about how different because, you know, you were a prosecutor, okay, a big shot prosecutor in New York, and now you're having more fun, right, with divorce court. So talk a little bit about just the switch up. How did you adjust? You still bring that prosecutorial sharpness. You still got it. But just talk a little bit just about how different of a vibe it is doing divorce court.
You know, it's so interesting. It's sort of like the same question I used to get when I left being a prosecutor and went to journalism, and then from journalism to news commentary, and then from commentary to talk show. I like to just say, before all this television stuff, before I was legal correspondent for NBC News and covering the high profile trials and conducting the jailhouse interviews. I actually spent 6 years in a real Brooklyn courtroom. As a New York City homicide prosecutor and assistant district attorney. And I mean, I went up through the ranks. So I started out in misdemeanor court. Now, y'all will laugh at this. Misdemeanor in Brooklyn. My first jury trial. So I joined the office. I got sworn in August. My first actual jury trial in front of 6 people, because it's a misdemeanor, was a dude that got stabbed in the housing project and lost a kidney. Only in Brooklyn is that a misdemeanor. Okay?
Misdemeanor. Okay, because I was thinking you're gonna talk about like somebody stole a phone.
No,
Stabbing.
got stabbed
Oh my God.
and lost a kidney.
A whole kidney, and that's not even a felony.
That was a misdemeanor, okay, in Brooklyn.
Ooh.
And that was my very first jury trial, okay?
Wow.
And what's that? 3 months into the office. So I literally got baptized by fire. I had my first trial of my class, and then I got moved up through the ranks. And every time I walked into a courtroom, I said Star Jones on behalf of the people of the state of New York. And I continued that in television. I mean, so it's been my mission to be a voice for the voiceless, the people who didn't have a voice.
Right.
And then I realized after, more than 30 consecutive years on television and in people's homes, that really does remain true for me. I traded in my courtroom jury for a TV audience. It's still a jury.
Yeah.
And it really is a jury of your peers, because they give you feedback, they let you know. And now with the advent of social media, they let you know in real time. Like, girl, girl, you shouldn't have said that. Girl, why didn't you read this point? Oh, you read them for points. I'm telling you, they really do give you the feedback. And so I really am continuing to do what I've been doing, a voice for the voiceless. And no, it's not as serious as someone who has been brutally murdered.
Yeah, or stabbed.
Or lost a kidney.
Yeah.
But I don't think people realize the relationship drama and trauma that American relationships are going through,
Yeah.
You ladies have lived through the COVID pandemic, even though I try to remind people we ain't finished with it, y'all. Please
Right.
wear your mask.
Yeah.
A lot of relationships started during the pandemic. I'm finding a significant number of my cases, people got together during the pandemic, but also behaviors manifested themselves that were not behaviors that they were used to during the pandemic.
Okay.
And the one thing that is universal, now every case is different, every single one, and I'm continuing to be shocked, every single one. But every one has one thing in common. The person who is either the defendant or the plaintiff wants to be heard. They feel like in their relationship, they are not being heard.
Right.
They are either crying out for more affection. They are crying out because you're not giving them the kind of feedback they need. You're not emotionally available. You don't know how to communicate. The sex isn't good. You lie too much. You got an addiction. I mean, they're not being heard. And so, in some ways, I'm still a voice for the voiceless. I give you the opportunity to be heard, and I actually listen. I care.
You do.
I care. And you know that, Reecie.
Absolutely. That's something that really stood out for me watching the show, is the heart that you put into it. And I watched, let the audience in on this. I spent some time with you in the Hamptons, fabulous house in the Hamptons. And we watched some episodes, and, a lot of times with celebrities and things that they do, particularly in this reality TV culture, right? It's their work is kind of a gag, and they're kind of laughing at the people, and they're using and exploiting people. But it was very interesting to me, or not just interesting, but it was very encouraging. Not that I thought anything different, how you genuinely care about these people and these cases. And it's really, you really put your heart into these cases and listening to them and picking up on things that show that you really do listen to them and making them feel heard and like they have an ally and an advocate in you. And so I just want to salute you for just the heart that you put into it. And anybody who's watching it and who comes on the show, they should feel at least seen and validated as a human being with the story that matters. And I think that's what makes it so relatable. Speaking of social media, though, you went viral. A birdie told me that you have the most watched clips in the history of divorce court. And just what has it been, 2 weeks since the show premiered? Yes. And in one clip in particular, this gentleman, if you want to call it that, was calling his partner useless or a B or something like that.
I remember it. I'll never forget the way he put it. He called her a lousy bitch.
Yes. Oh my God.
Of me. I was in complete and utter shock. I mean, I still am. Every time I think about somebody who would call a woman, a black woman, that in front of another black woman in a public place.
On national TV.
I'm sorry, because I just thought to myself, is there just no respect in families anymore at all? This is somebody who is the mother of your child, and we're making television here. Okay, we call it divorce court, but it's television. It will live on forever. Your child will one day see the fact you call their mama a lousy bitch. And I don't think that's going to sit well with your kid. Trust and believe.
Right.
And for me, that just, I'm sorry, I went apoplectic, and you know that. Empathy is what I hope I bring to the show more than anything, because that same case, it affected me in several different ways. That same dude, when his sister-in-law came on the show to be a witness for her sister, the plaintiff, she said, that he doesn't treat my sister the way he should. And the defendant just tried to poo-poo her and said, well, she's a stripper. And I just said to myself, excuse me, come back, little Sheba. What you doing about? Right. And I actually said, don't let the straight hair and the lashes fool you. I have family and friends that do everything.
Right.
Okay? We work at the Piggly Wiggly, the J.C. Penney, and the White House, dude. Let me be real clear.
Right.
Okay? We shop at the Nordstrom and the Nordstrom Rack. Okay?
Okay.
Okay? The Neiman Marcus and the Needless Markup. Okay?
Right.
We do it all. We do it all. Okay? I have family and friends that make their money on the pole. And I have family and friends that design the poles, dude. So don't even go there. And don't think that you're going to diminish this woman by casting aspersions about what she lawfully does and takes care of her family. And by the way, she with her husband and he don't talk to her like that.
Right.
And so it's just really important for me to validate folks' choices. Now, if you do some stupid stuff, like I had a young girl, who she let her boyfriend talk her in to him being her manager while she was a cam girl. Did you see that one, Reecie?
I haven't seen it yet. No.
She was a cam girl. Now, Erica, do y'all know what a cam girl is? Because I had to be educated.
Is that like an OnlyFans thing?
I do not know.
Yes, but they make money because people will either dial in or text in what they want them to do on the camera.
Oh, okay. And she needed a manager for that?
And this was the part that cracked me up. And the boyfriend is the manager, but he don't want her to do no cam stuff with men, just with women. So he done turned her, as her girlfriend say, into a whole ass lesbian. Okay. And I said to her, girl, there's nothing wrong with having a same-sex relationship if that's what you want. But that's not who she is.
Right.
And then she gonna tell me that he's my manager, and you know me, like you said, I be listening. I said, how much money does he make? And she said, it's 50-50. And girl, I almost threw the gavel. Erica, close your mouth. A fly about to get in it, okay? Girl, I almost hollered. I said, excuse me, I've been in the game a long time. I have never paid a manager 50% of a daggone thing.
That's a pimp, homegirl, not a manager.
Reecie, why do you know your big sister? That's exactly what I said on the air. I said, bruh, that's called being a pimp. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
So people could come on the show, get relationship advice and entertainment
and get read if you need to be read. So
period. Well, we can't keep you too long, Star, but I want to give Erica an opportunity to ask you a question. Erica, what you got for Star?
Well, first and foremost, this is such a delight and a pleasure and a real honor to be able to chat with you here briefly. Congratulations on hopefully an Emmy award winning show that you have here. Movie Star Jones. Okay. Yes, ma'am. So definitely honor and appreciate you for all of your contributions you've made. And so when you were talking about your transitions from The View, which I've not watched since you left, and that's real talk.
Okay,
you talked about
like
journal.
Okay.
That is real talk. Journalism, commentating, your work that you've done in politics, through all of those amazing pivots that you've had or links, what have you. What has been the most breathtaking pivot or leap for you thus far in an illustrious career?
Wow, what a great question. I don't think I've actually thought, because the transitions have for the most part been smooth. Like I said, with leaving the courtroom and going into television journalism, it was a smooth transition. It was one jury for the next, and then into being a talk show. I know how to talk, so that worked. And I think maybe the transition from moving and using my legal background and my business background and taking on the responsibility of a publicly traded company. A lot of people don't know this part of my career. When I kind of saw what television was doing after I left The View, it was moving into reality television. I've been in the game a very long time, so I had a vision of the landscape, and it was moving into reality TV, and that's just not who I am going to be. I saw what it can do to a person when you allow the cameras into your private life, and I just didn't want that for my life. So knowing that, I used to have this joke. I don't have to worry about a job because I got a law degree and there's always criminals in Brooklyn. I always go home, okay? And literally that is true. But with the law degree, and I really like to say this to young people, anybody that's listening, my education is really what gave me entree to everything I've had the opportunity to do. And so I took that law degree, I matched it with my media credentials, my communications background, and I became the national spokesperson for what was then at the time the National Association of Professional Women. Well, when I get into a situation, I see how it's going and I see how changes can be made. So I started making suggestions as the spokesperson. And the leadership said, well, why don't you put your money where your mouth is and come in and be the chief development officer? And I was moving away from daily television. So I took that responsibility on. long story short, I moved from chief development officer, and the then leadership of the company wanted to take the company public. But they needed my help to develop the portfolio and the programming for what we would take the company public. I got to sit in all those meetings to take a private company public. And one of the stipulations, because the company that was buying us was so impressed with my business acumen, they put in the contract that I had to become president of the new publicly traded company.
Wow.
So there would be a CEO and then there would be a president, and that made me become one of less than a half dozen black women that had a leadership role in a publicly traded company on the NASDAQ of the United States of America. So for 7 years, I was a member of the board of directors and president of a publicly traded company. So it wasn't that it was a hard transition. It was a different transition. But it's because I had the education, and as I like to tell young people, when opportunity meets talent, you can do anything. Okay?
Amen.
So I had to be standing in the space that God has created for me, ready, credentialed,
period,
able to take on that responsibility, and then go up in there and take that responsibility on. And I'm just very proud of the fact that I got that opportunity. And so then obviously that gave me more opportunities to move into more political things and more policy things, and to become a senior advisor for several different business entities on the issues of diversity and inclusion. And so I just want other women to not be limited by any box anybody else wants to put you in. Because if you can see yourself doing it, get the credentials and go ahead and do it. And that's exactly the way I've approached my career.
I love it. Thank you so much. Wow, that's powerful.
A whole sermon, like
period.
Period. The word of the day is range. I know we call her an icon, we call her a judge, but the range that we just heard from V Star Jones, I hope y'all was taking notes. If you didn't, go ahead and rewind it and go back to what she said, y'all, because this is just such a wealth of knowledge. And I love that you are on our screens every day. You are in people's homes. You're in our hearts. You are making a difference for the people that you reach on the show, but also the people that learn something and take something away from you imparting your wisdom on these couples. So Star Jones, my big sis, thank you so much for joining us.
You know what? You kind of, I won't say you lied because you're my baby sister.
Oh,
you didn't all tell the whole truth.
What happened?
You were visiting me in the Hamptons because you were the escort to my child. Okay,
that is true. Okay, it wasn't
Let's
just
be
all
very
me.
clear.
I had to
Boss
bring...
Baby. Okay, because Boss Baby was in charge of the situation.
I know. I'm just merely an escort.
Okay, so I do want, as President Biden likes to say, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Joe Biden, Jill Biden's husband.
Yeah.
Okay, so Reecie, you got to get ready to say, listen, hey, I'm Reecie Colbert, Boss Baby's mama. Okay?
That's it.
Okay.
I'm gonna fly that flag. I need to get her some Instagram or some TikTok, because that's all the babies are all the range now, and that's where my social capital is gonna come from Boss Baby. So thank you for bringing me
darn thing. I had to just bring you back a little bit,
just a little bit,
and that she got the invitation to the Hamptons.
Yes, she did.
And as I pointed out, she can't drive yet.
No, she can't. And she gave me a run for my money on that drive too. She sure did, but it's okay.
You are an amazing mother, an amazing friend. I'm so proud that you are my baby sister, and Erica, just understand that you have no choice but to be a part of the little sister group, because I'm auntie to them all. And anytime a sister needs anything at all from me, I'm a black girl, black girl. I just am. I'm
Oh yeah.
unapologetically black. I'm unapologetically black. I'm unapologetically a woman. I unapologetically believe in Jesus. And I am unapologetically always gonna have the Vice President of the United States back. Anybody got a problem with that? You need to talk to somebody else, because I'm not that girl.
Period.
I love it. I accept.
That's why we love you so much, Star. Karen Rebels, SiriusXM UrbanView fam. Check out Star Jones, Judge Star Jones, every day on Divorce Court. You can go to Divorce Court on social media, divorcecourt.com. There's a YouTube channel. Follow Star Jones, ESQ Esquire. Y'all know where to find this icon, this living legend. Star, thank you so much for being here with us and giving us so much time.
Very much. I've had a great time. We'll see y'all soon. Be well, sisters.
Bye-bye.
Be well. Bye-bye.
Woo, that was just, that was so nice.
Girl, that was so refreshing.
Yes.
After the reset, and to have your big sister, or I should say our big sister, our big sister. But seriously, I mean, I think about, and you said the word of the day being range. I literally remember the first time I saw Star Jones on television and the power in which that she spoke with, so much so it just made you want to continue to follow her. Well, what is she going to do next? What is she going to do next? She has that type of draw. So I remember when you all wrote that piece, it's about 16 minutes long. I would encourage anybody to go on Medium, the credentials, not cosmetics piece that Reecie and Star authored together, and to see the evolution of your relationship, how she really is, she doesn't play about you, and that she is a person, she is a Black woman who has said that, listen, you have the credentials, you're badass, you're smart, like, and I want to see you fly. And she's literally doing that in real time, like watching you when you were doing an interview from the Hamptons, and I was like, I love, this is what sisterhood looks like.
It really
is. This is it. Yeah.
Yes. And
I love it.
You know, there are people that took chances on me throughout my coming up, right? Since starting Black Women Views in 2018. And Star is one of those people who slid into my inbox, like, hey, let's collaborate on this thing for VP. And I was the loudmouth Black girl troublemaker on the internet, dragging people for VP, you know, dropping receipts. And she was with it. And she's really that chick. Like, do not come to Star about me thinking that you're gonna have a friend in Jesus to come against me. Because Star is the most loyal, down-to-earth person there is. So shout out to Star. This time is flying by so much. Leon, I see you waiting. We gotta take a break. We'll be right back with more Karen Hunter Show with me, Reecie Colbert, and my good sis, Erica Savage Wilson. Be right back. Hey, Karen Rebels, SiriusXM UrbanView family. It's your girl, Reecie Colbert, filling in for Professor Karen Hunter, who I hope is having an amazing day, relaxing, maxing and relaxing, chillaxing all cool, shooting some b-ball outside of the school.
Started making trouble in the neighborhood.
I just can't help it. I'm one of the people that just start reciting rap lyrics for no reason. Like, I just thinking like I think in like Friday movie quotes. I think in like rap lyrics. That's a quirk people might not have known about me. But I'm here with my girl Erica Savage Wilson. Hey, Erica.
Hey, sis. Shout out to Karen Rebels, Karen Hunter, the queen, and to you, best-selling author. Book number 2 dropped today, y'all. Go get it. Must watch races. Let's get it.
Thank you for helping me remember to plug my book. Yes, new book out today. Book number 2. I'm telling you, it's research. I got receipts. It's in the Reecie Speak. Pick it up on Amazon. It is called The Long and Short of It Guide to the 2022 midterms. This book is called Must Watch Races. It covers 14 of the key races across the country, the ones that y'all really care about, but you don't really know everything you need to know about it. I got you in this book. And Erica has the Reframed Brain podcast. Check her out. we have been talking about a lot of things today. We talked about Lindsey Graham's punk ass introducing a nationwide abortion ban. We don't have nationwide abortion protections, though. We talked to the wonderful, illustrious Star Jones, who's new judge of divorce court. And earlier we were having a discussion about the Emmys. Sheryl Lee Ralph won, the diva, the icon, Quinta Brunson won. Her moment was kind of ruined a little bit by Jimmy Kimmel, but we dragged the hell out of him about that. Zendaya won, Lizzo won, Jared Carmichael won. If I missed any Black people, y'all call in and let me know. 866-801-8255. Leon from Illinois, you've been waiting so patiently. Thank you. What's your call?
Hey, Reecie and Erica, great show. You all holding it down for the greatest show in the galaxy.
Oh, thank you.
I appreciate
You all had a caller earlier, Joe,
Mhm.
and he talked about he said something about one of his parents are from Ukraine, and he was saying he doesn't know the difference, and the difference is he could look at how the people in his country are being treated differently than the other the people that's coming from Mexico or Haiti or things like that.
Oh,
so like the Ukrainians, yeah, they're getting weapons, they're getting billions of dollars from the U.S. The U.S. is actually bringing the people here while they're trying to keep Mexican people and people from South America out. They're eligible for SNAP and Medicaid. The Republican Party is not demonizing them, not putting them on buses, bringing them to sanctuary cities. So there are plenty of reasons where he could look and see, how it affects people that are from his country as well, if his mother's from there. So I don't think and I'm not, like we said, I don't need to drag him because he probably was sincere in his questions. I don't know. But,
yeah, no, I think Leon, you really bring up a great point. I mean, he said Ukraine, he probably talking about a couple generations ago. People be like, oh, my family's Irish, like, okay, for real. But at the end of the day, you're just bringing out very, very clear-cut examples of the differences and how people of certain nationalities, if they're white, are treated as opposed to Black people, because African Ukrainian is going to get a whole different reception trying to come over here around these parts than a white, blonde hair, blue eyes Ukrainian. Let's just be clear about that. Erica, what's your response?
I'm so glad that caller called in and made those points, because he did speak to, you talked about several generations, about someone, his family, some of them being from Poland and from Ukraine. So it's always good when here it is again, we're having to, have a history lesson to really just say it's because a group is so centered, they refuse, it's not that they cannot, they refuse to see outside of anything that does not center them. And so I love that Larry called in and brought up those points, Joe, they dragging you, but I think it's because there's so many things that are really resonating with people that just really speak to the piece of being very blind in how one sees the world. And excuse me, not blind, because I don't want to offend anyone with disabilities, having one myself, but not choosing to actually see how the world affects other people outside of the people within one's own community. So,
and I think that, I appreciate the opportunity or the chances that we get to have this kind of dialogue, because at some point, somebody got to bridge the gap, for the people who ask these questions in earnest. Some people are gaslighting, some people are trolling, some people are just trying to kind of sneak and try to be like whataboutism kind of thing. But it is good that we have these conversations, and this is the platform for that. That's why I don't know if everybody says this, but I know Clay very much consistently says it: talk that empowers and becomes action. I'm not good at all the slogans and stuff. I'm probably messed that up, but that's what we're here for. To have this kind of open dialogue. And sometimes we have to check each other within our community, because we ain't always on the same page when it comes to a lot of topics. So it ain't like we only just check the white folks that call in. We got some in-house business we got to attend to. One of those things I do want to talk about on the other side, a rapper, PnB Rock. I don't know if you heard the news about him. So tragic and so devastating. He was gunned down yesterday in at Roscoe's. And I've been to Roscoe's so many times. It blows my mind to think of somebody getting killed at Roscoe's, even though that wasn't the best neighborhood, Roscoe's. But it's such a tragic loss. So I want to talk about just the work that we have to do and how we show compassion in these moments and how we choose to go after people, the wrong people in these moments. So I want to talk about that on the other side of this break. I know we just came back from break, but we got to go to another break. And then we're going to have the final hour to talk about all the stories we talked about, 866-801-8255 and Mutale and Nkonde after the break for Text Tuesday. Karen Hunter Show. Be right back. Hey, Karen Rebels. It is Reecie Colbert filling in for Karen Hunter, along with my girl Erica Savage Wilson. It is the last hour. Time flies when you're having fun, though, doesn't it? Oh my goodness, Erica, what happened? How are we already in hour 3?
I'm trying to tell you. I mean, it's been us kicking it hard with the Karen Rebels. Shout out to Karen Rebels and Queen Karen Hunter.
and the Karen, I mean, the SiriusXM UrbanView audience is just always delightful. You know, we're on Roland Martin Unfiltered together, and I love the Roland Martin Unfiltered family. Do not mistake me for saying that I don't. But when you're doing digital like shows, that comes with trolls, right? I mean, that comes with the comments. And these are not Roland Martin fans. These are people that are there to cause chaos and stuff like that. And so it's a slightly different experience. Now I've like learned to block, and now he got some good moderators. But you know, SiriusXM UrbanView has just always, I just have always loved the audience. I love the Roland audience too, don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying you don't only get the people there for the content when it comes to Roland as opposed to SiriusXM. Ain't nobody paying money for a subscription just to be foolish with other people. Okay, it's too many options out there in the world to pay your money to be mad at people and be trolling people all day. So shout out to the SiriusXM Urban family. I want to again shout out my boy Clay Kane, 1,000 episodes yesterday. I thought I was doing something because I think I've been on 100 or so episodes of Roland, maybe 200 by now. I don't know. But when you hear 1,000, like imagine the longevity and the determination it takes to get through that volume of content over the course of 4 years. That's crazy, right?
Yeah, it's really phenomenal. Shout out to Clay Kane. Clay Kane, I love hearing him speak. So that's one reason why I love the show. I love to hear him speak. He's very concise and to the point. And I also have to say, Reecie, you talked about time flying. And time flies when you have a person that knows how to use the time wonderfully, which is you. You have been an extraordinary addition to the RMU platform, and especially to SiriusXM Radio. Reecie is the reason that I still have my subscription. I have to say that. I'm serious. So, I mean, to hear that mashup with you and Clay, to hear you on the Favor show, to hear you, on this show, it's really just wonderful because the song that led us in, Black Lead Black on Black on Black. I mean, to have all of this Black excellence melded together is so wonderful. So shout out to you, best-selling author, mom, extraordinaire, receipts giver, reader, all the great things in Black woman excellence and Black excellence. Shout out to you for holding it down on this wonderful platform, girl.
Oh, thank you so much. And it's easy to do when I'm sitting beside you, and you're just such an extraordinary human being who I'm just so grateful we are here to experience and be blessed by your presence, your spirit, your knowledge, everything. The one thing I regret that we don't get to hear that often, which I've enjoyed hearing every single week, is you say son of a Klansman when it comes to talking about Trump.
That is my number one DM. Can you please say it? And I'm oh gosh, that's my number one DM.
If Vine was around still, is that what it was called? The little Vine thing? Like you would be like the most famous person ever on Vine for saying son of a Klansman. So Shout out to you. Then, of course, I have to shout out Karen Hunter because she entrusted me with her show. You know, Clay fought for me. Karen Hunter fought for me to be able to be on this platform. I'm on Clay's show every Thursday, so it makes a lot more sense for him to feel comfortable giving me his show. But I haven't been on Karen Hunter's show that much. I actually been on their show one time with her. So for her to entrust me with 3 hours of content, it just means so much. And her and Clay both have always been like, be you, be authentic, you know, and really embrace and celebrate that. So thank y'all. This was a love section. We didn't plan on having that. Still taking your calls. We have a guest coming on in a short while, but if you missed earlier, we were talking about the Emmys. Jimmy Kimmel acted a plumb fool on the ground, like he ain't got no home training during Quinta Brunson's speech. Sheryl Lee Ralph winning the award for Best Supporting Actress, only the second Black woman to win that award in 25 years. And Zendaya won, Lizzo won, Jared Carmichael won. We also talked about Lindsey Graham introducing a nationwide ban on abortion, his despicable rhetoric around that. And right before the break, I mentioned PnB Rock, who's a rapper, an artist. Maybe I shouldn't call him a rapper. I'll call him an artist, a music artist, who was tragically gunned down yesterday in Los Angeles, Inglewood, at Roscoe's. And, you know, so there's a couple of things that really bothered me about this. Obviously, number one, the fact that he was killed is so distressing. And there was footage of him all over Twitter, like literally, like it was graphic footage of him.
What?
We have to get away from being a society that just has so little compassion for the humanity of a person to show them in those moments for clicks, for retweets, for likes. It's disgusting. So that's disgusting. Wow. Number two, another thing that bothered me about it was people making comments. So his girlfriend, the love of his life, had posted an Instagram story with her chicken and waffles, like people do all the time. People always post their little chicken and waffles or whatever. And people were trying to blame her for him getting gunned down, saying that, well, that's why you're not supposed to post your location. Why are you there? She set him up. She a op. And I'm like, okay, where is the smoke for the person who ran up in that establishment, which is a restaurant with families and children and just regular people eating chicken and waffles? Even President Obama's been to doggone Roscoe's. Where's the smoke for the person and for the degenerates that are out there robbing people and killing people? Instead, you're blaming the victims for having their location on Instagram. And we know, if you know anything about social media, your Instagram probably gets so little engagement at that point. It probably 3 people saw that dog on Instagram before it was broadcast that she even had it. So Eric, I just want, what's your reaction to just this notion or this quickness people have to blaming victims of crime as though like, well, you kind of had it coming. Like another thing he talked about was that people had tried to rob him before. And so a lot of the feedback that I saw was, well, he should have known not to be at that location. She should have known not to post her location. What's your reaction to those kind of comments?
Well, I'll say this, I want people to know that shutting the fuck up is always an option.
Period.
That's first off. The second thing that I would love to talk about is in a day and space where everything is posted. And that's, what some people, if a lot of people post, some people would say that it's overshare, whatever it is. I mean, this is the nature of where we are right now as a society. Leave folk alone. Let them do what makes them feel good. Leave that alone. And to add that in to say that, okay, well, if it wouldn't have, I feel like this is a family conversation because it sounds Black to me. Mm-hmm. So I'll say it from this lens, the whole kind of sitting on the porch, the proverbial porch, and talking about what should not have happened when it is already transpired is again more reason for people to be a part of that ministry that I was talking about. Whomever set out to do harm to this now no longer with us young man, they accomplished what they were going to do anyway.
Right.
Why not take energy and breath to actually send love, light, energy, all of these things that people love to send. They always love to accuse somebody else of bringing the bad energy. Everybody that retweeted, everybody that had something to say about what should have happened, you are bad energy. So at this time where there is a family that is mourning the loss of someone that they love, take the good energy, dig and find it, and send that to the family and to the people around that are mourning someone who has left the earth. Because I think that's another thing, this whole people becoming desensitized to a final act, which is death. As if that's not an appointment that everyone has. And his was when he was young and it was very violent. I would love for people to take a minute, not say anything, and again, dig as deep as possible and send love, light, and good energy to that family. And it's okay not to have something to say on social media. I practice it all the time.
All the time. That is so point. And I want to take a moment to send that love and light to PnB Rock's family, because it's just a horrific, absolutely tragic situation. And, you know, when a Black person gets shot by the cops, the last thing we want to hear is, well, they shouldn't have ran. Well, they shouldn't have been doing this. Well, what were they doing? Da, 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 da. We don't want to hear the excuse. We don't want to hear it. Because at the end of the day, posting chicken and waffles, okay, which you probably done a million times at a million restaurants, does not give somebody license to murder another human being, period. The only person who has culpability in that situation, short of me pulling out a gun and aiming it at you and you firing back in self-defense, the only person that has culpability in the slaying of a person sitting down, eating a meal in broad daylight is the person who pulled that trigger, point blank in the period. So we need to, as a community, condemn that behavior instead of condemning posting chicken and waffles, because that is not a death sentence. That's not a death sentence. That doesn't warrant that. Okay.
Right. Lord have mercy.
Whew, okay. Let me go to a call on that note. It's not on this topic. Okay. So switching gears a little bit. Sheila from Michigan. Welcome to the Karen Hunter Show.
Hi, Reecie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I wanted to say to you, I'm looking forward. I'm going to download your book from Audible because one of the things that's really on my heart, I'm a policy wonky person because for like I'm retired. I worked for the state legislature for over 35 years as a researcher. And, you know, and so I understand the process, and I have this heart for my family and loved ones to understand how this stuff works so that they can get out here and vote. And I've been trying to think of ways to help them to understand without boring them with the dry stuff. And so your book, because last week I sat down and I drafted, it's kind of like a primer of what y'all need to do. Like I'm incorporating links. The first thing I said, y'all need to make sure you're still on the voting rolls and check your voter registration status. But then I wanted to include other stuff to help them, just some little tools. And so your book is coming out at the perfect time when I can use that as a reference source, but also put a link, because I'm going to put just this little letter to my family together to put in our family text group and Facebook page to kind of hopefully help them to get stirred up to understand, like my kids and nephews and, you know, who might be on the fence about voting at all. But your book is going to be so helpful because, you know, you speak in plain, concise language, but you hit all the points. So I am looking forward to it, and I'll be downloading it because, you know, I need instant gratification, so I'll be getting it on Kindle so I can get it immediately.
Sheila, you know, I so appreciate you saying that, because that's exactly why I wrote the book, because, and it's why I wrote the book in the way that I wrote the book. I wrote it in what I call Reecie speak, because I wanted people to feel like they were talking to their homegirl about politics. You know, I didn't want people to feel overwhelmed by the knowledge. I wanted them to feel like a conversation. They were having a conversation with their homegirl about politics and hearing what they need to hear. And Texas is 100% one of those places where people need to be engaged, because from the time I wrote the first book to the second book, abortion was outlawed completely. Like that's how fast things are moving in this country when it comes to all of these rights: abortion rights, LGBTQ rights, Black people rights. Okay, because we are always in the crosshairs of anything Republicans are trying to do. So I just really appreciate you sharing it. It is a primer. Actually, in my new book, I have a quote unquote legislative primer where I explain the legislation that I'm kind of not so much scoring, but I'm telling people where these people stand on. Because we need to get the information quickly out to people, and we need to be, you know, informed ourselves. So Sheila, thank you so much for buying my book. And actually, when you mentioned Audible, so I'm not on Audible, but one of the things I plan on doing with this new book is anybody who buys the book, this is breaking news, I came up with this the other day, I'm going to send them a link to a recorded version of the book that I'm going to be recording myself. So you can just go put it on. I don't know. It might be YouTube. It might be MP3. I don't know yet which one it's going to be, but I'm sending that link out to people who buy the book. Okay. So you buy one, you ain't got to go buy Audible. Because first of all, people don't even get paid on Audible for it. I don't know how people make money on Audible, because they give you peanuts, okay, compared to what they charge. But you're gonna buy one, get one free. Get the book, get the Audible free, but it's not gonna be audible.com. It's gonna be my bootleg version of Audible. Okay. So thank you so much, Sheila, for your call and your support. Okay, so we do have some calls coming in, but I do not like to keep my guests waiting, because when we have a guest, we got to respect people's time that they're dedicating to the show and to our listeners. So Jeremy, hold on a little bit. Greg, if you can, hold on a little bit while I bring in our guest, I should say. Hello, Karen Hunter Show. Let me give you a little bit of background. So y'all know every week it's Tech Tuesday. I'm staying in formation, Chad. It's not my show. I can't redo the show completely. I got to stay in formation with Karen Hunter Show. She does a brilliant job laying out all the themes every day. So today, as y'all know, as Karen Rebels, it is Tech Tuesday. And so we have with us a leader in tech, a Black woman, because you know we like to make sure we're giving the mic to Black people, in particular Black women when I'm on, in technology, in particular centering our community and technology fairness in our community. So let me just run down a couple of the credentials, okay? I'm gonna try to make it quick. I'm gonna talk fast. So, and I hope that she'll correct me if I don't say her name properly, but Mutale Nkonde is an Emmy-winning producer and the founder and leader of AI for the People. AI for the People is a high-impact communications firm that uses art, film, and culture to help imagine a world in which AI technology does not track, misinform, or harm Black communities. She started AI for the People in 2019 after co-authoring a report advancing racial literacy in tech, which called on the tech sector to pay closer attention to the impact predictive algorithms have on Black communities. In 2019, I'm gonna say, Nkonde, girl, hold on, let me bring you in just to make sure I'm saying your name right. Please tell me, please correct me, because
we're saying it so well. I'm like, this is me. Okay.
I practiced it. I looked at YouTube's but unfortunately, I found a bunch of white people saying her name. So I was like, I don't know the white people saying her name right. So, let me make sure. Let me practice and watch a couple more YouTube. So say your name again for the people, please.
It's Mutale Nkonde. Reecie, you're doing a beautiful job.
Okay, thank you. Okay, pause. Let me get back to your bio. Nkonde. In 2019, Nkonde worked as an AI policy advisor, and led a team that introduced Algorithm Accountability Act, the Deepfakes Accountability Act, and the No Biometric Barriers to Housing Act we introduced in 2021 to the U.S. House of Representatives. The inability of these bills to move out of committee convinced her of the need to increase policymaker understanding about the racial justice implications of tech. She then turned back to her work as a television producer to create media content that outlined the issues. Nkonde is a member of the TikTok Content Moderation Board, a fellow at Stanford University's Digital Civil Society Lab, and has formerly held fellowships at the Berkman Klein Center of Internet and Society at Harvard Institute of Advanced Study of Notre Dame. She is currently a master's candidate at Columbia University in New York, where her research focuses on race and technology. She started her career as a journalist between 2008 and 2008. 2000 and 2008, she produced films about science and technology for the BBC, CNN, and ABC. In 2008, she volunteered for Barack Obama's first campaign, and there met people who asked her to work opposite Google's external affairs team, as they invested in a number of nonprofits offering coding education to Black children in New York City, where her interest in race and tech was born. I know that was long, y'all, but you know, we talked a little bit with Star Jones earlier about credentials. And you know, when we're talking about Black women, we got to establish that the credentials are there, point blank in the period, okay? And so now y'all know we're giving you lots of tech experience on Tech Tuesday. Mutale, welcome to the show.
Oh my God, Reecie, I am so excited. I am following your career. I love. And all my bio tells you is that I've been around a lot of white folk who have told me, no.
Okay, way to will it down for the group. Okay, yes. But you know what? You bring up that point is so important because I'm sure you're familiar with her, Kim Creighton, who's another Black, you know, digital technology person. She says technology is not neutral. And so it's so important that someone like you is in these spaces to really try to bring some of that racial awareness and competency to digital technology. Talk a little bit about algorithms and your work around that, and how that in my view, and you can give me your view, has a tendency to discriminate against Black people. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so algorithms are instructions. That's the first thing. They try to wow you with science and algebra, but really all it is a math code that tells you how to do one thing to make another thing happen. And one of the most famous algorithms that we're all using is we're opening our phones with our faces. And, you know, I'm actually getting a global prize around my work. I'm in Canada right now, but when I arrived in Vancouver yesterday, I had to come through customs that took my picture, right? The algorithms within those systems do not or have not traditionally identified Black skin well. And that's become an issue because if you ever look on local news, like I look on local news, they'll always be like, this is the person, this is the picture of, that's the person who did it. And if they use facial recognition, which is the same thing that opens your phone and it's the wrong person, we actually have cases in the US that are being in litigation now where they have got the wrong person, arrested the wrong person because the algorithms don't work. However, having said that, the other thing about algorithms is that the science can advance and it can be better. So one of the groups that I'm advising right now is the Google Health team. And if you watch the Super Bowl, you'll know that they did that commercial where they let you know if you get their phone, you're going to look as good as if you were in Insecure and Issa Rae was doing your lighting. And, you know, those types of changes come because there are Black people, Black women, Black folk who are saying, we are not going to keep making you millionaires and trillionaires, and your systems not do for us.
I love that. I love that because, you know, we are one of the biggest consumers in the world, but a lot of times our consumership is taken for granted, you know, and a lot of times there's real harm that's done to us. You know, I was going to ask you about this global digital human rights leader. So this is the award, right, that you're referring to, that you're in Canada for? Okay.
Oh, first of all, when they when they told me I got it, I was like, me.
Right.
Because my other honorees are women like Maria Ressa, who got the Nobel Prize this year for her work with Duterte in the Philippines, which is around misinformation and disinformation and what that's done to their democracy. Sophia Noble, who last year got a prize for her work on the YouTube algorithm. I'm sorry, on the Google algorithm, and how that was sexualizing young women and girls. So we all remember, you know, the R. Kelly story, but a lot of that sex trafficking is because until people like Sophia pointed that out, you put the search term Black girl and you know, you're getting whatever. And what we're looking to do is to bring together the leaders across the world, women of color, doing this work to try and create sets of principles and actions that make we do more ordinary. So I am so happy that you have given me this tiny amount of time to let y'all know this is what we're doing, and we're all part of this work.
Well, congratulations, because those folks are going to be saying that they're getting an award with Mutale, okay? Because the work that you're doing, they're going to be on the interview quoting your work. So you absolutely belong, sis, in those spaces, and we're so fortunate to have you in those spaces. I'm going to turn it over to Erica. Do you have a question for Mutale?
I do. Thank you, Reecie. And Mutale, congratulations. Reading your bio, I was just like shouting Black excellence. Love the profile and Blavity as well. So congratulations and continued success moving forward. When you talked about with relationship to the biometrics, being familiar with that, having been in the military and did some time and worked in federal government as well, like very much so understanding, you know, fingerprinting and all of those things and how it's advanced over the years. And I'm very interested in some of the research that's been done, like basic hand washing, going out to places and you put your hand, or not saying you, but Black people put their hands to get the hand washing soap out and it doesn't come out, but someone else that's not a part of our group does, and it does. So can you share a little bit more around just maybe even some of the things that perhaps folks within the Black community would think are just one-offs, but how the work that you're doing to continue to shed light and say, no, we're here and you are going to recognize us, how that does really impact us like everywhere that we go?
Yeah, thank you for that, Erica, and thank you so much. So there's two simple questions. When we're developing skin tone based products, so it could be hand washing. If y'all are counting your steps, it could be your good Fitbit and what your heart monitor, but it's not necessarily reading you correctly. So you know you did 10,000 steps. The thing is saying you did 10 steps. That's a problem. That's another example. Or it could be just checking out your stuff at the supermarket, right? You're doing self-checkout. It's saying put stuff in the bag. You know you've already paid for it. You've put stuff in the bag, but it raises an alert. And then somebody comes over, and it's because part of you're being monitored from visually by the screen. And if you are deemed to be looking suspicious, that could lead to an interaction. And we all know, you know, our good sis Breonna Taylor was asleep when she had her interaction. And so it's inviting these other potential dangerous situations. One example, which isn't it is biometric, but it's not the body, are like shot spotter, which is supposed to say when there's gunshots in the neighborhood using audio.
Okay.
And they've been found to bring in police squads that think that there's a shot and there's not. So if we remember in Chicago, the 13-year-old boy getting killed, that alert was through shot spotter that works quicker than 911. And so these are some real life impacts, but some of the work that we're doing isn't just the awareness raising, but we're working with product teams to ask better questions so that the algorithms that we're building don't have these inherent biases. We're not going to be able to get every bias out, but we can certainly reduce harm. And then even in my own work, Reecie was talking about book writing. I'm on that journey myself. Still can't believe I am, but whatever. And one of the things I'm looking at is this idea of the knowledge economy, right? If we are going to make money in the future, it is going to be those people who are creating IP, which are ideas, right? Their technologies, their knowledge, and selling it. Those are the ones that have the money. But within the future of the Black workforce, we are underrepresented. And that's not an education issue. That's a racism issue, because we have the people out there. And I've also been looking at how people like me, recent immigrants, often from Africa, are much more likely to get those jobs, because immigration policy means that we're prepared for them. So I'm asking Black communities to re-engineer that and say, we need ourselves in knowledge spaces. And then for Black folk like me, to be like, if the white folk have let you in, your job is to take space to make space. I've been at Stanford, then I need to make sure that the little kids in my church can get there, and I will sponsor them. I've been in these places because if we don't do that, then it's me by myself getting harassed by God knows who with no community. And I'm not here for that. I'm here for a better, more equal world, and one where we share wealth, and one where we can work.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Wow. I just, my mind is blown on so many things that you just said. First of all, I feel personally attacked because I be always, in the soap machine. I be like, okay, where's in the water? I didn't know that was racist. Apparently that I'm being discriminated against when I'm trying to get some soap and some water. But I mean, it's it's just so much that is going into this that I didn't even read. I mean, when I think of algorithms, I'm thinking about like social media and how Twitter is hating on my account, and other stuff. I'm not even thinking about all these things that you're talking about. We have a lot of calls coming in. How much time do you have? I don't want to hold you.
I'm good. I'm still at the summit, but I said to them, I was like, I'm about to speak to Reecie. Sorry, Maria. I know you have your Nobel Prize and everything, but I gotta go to my Black Star News crew and get on the radio.
Okay, well, I appreciate you because we are getting a lot of questions on this. So let's start off with Mary in New Jersey. Mary, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for taking my call. I really love that you said, taking space to make space. I think that's a really great, perspective as far as sharing the education and bringing others up to be able to have these opportunities. My question is related to, and you kind of touched on it, but the other types of intrinsic biases that could be in algorithms that we are unaware of that, as a person of color, you already know that these are things that can be like what can inadvertently be put in, aside from, like you mentioned, the ones about the shots fired and things, but regarding people maybe and identification, what could be put in that would inadvertently affect people of color negatively that we would be unaware of if we're not in the know of the algorithm writing itself, so that people could, learn and, educate themselves, if it makes any sense.
Yeah, I think, and Reecie touched on this, we have to look at these algorithms as a power system in the same way education is a power system, health is a power system, and these are encoded with white supremacist ideas. So one of the things I always talk about when I'm speaking to folks in the financial services is how mortgage algorithms have been found to be as biased against Black homeowners as human beings. And that's the fact that the data that we use dates back to redlining. So if you have a government policy where you just decide Black people are uncreditworthy, knowing good and goddamn well that Madam C.J. Walker was a Black person and so good for her money, then you're going to get a system that repeats that. And I think with me, I definitely think consciousness raising is cute, but building power is really what we need to do. And that's only going to come through numbers. And I feel very blessed to be in this position, but I also feel very urgent. We're in midterms. These algorithms are in social media. We're not going to be fed the truth. What kind of pressure can we put on? We've just seen this Twitter whistleblower today. What kind of pressure can we put on to make sure the information that we get is correct?
Ooh, that is so key. And that's what I'm fighting every day, you know, and Erica, we're fighting and you're fighting all the time, is just this deluge of information. And it's by design. It's not at all unorganized and organic. Okay, I have 2 more calls. I'm going to combine them. So I'm going to go to one caller, and then before you answer, I'm going to go to the next caller, and then we'll combine it. Then we got to go to a break. So make it quick. I'm hoping that I'm saying your name right, but Marquita in Ohio.
Yes, it's Marcita. I tried to do it phonetically, thinking that it would work, but it didn't. Yeah, I'm a doc in Ohio, and we definitely see these things come up in algorithms associated with healthcare. But when I cut on my radio when I got in the car today, and they talked about the whole soap dispenser, like I have told people for years, I'm like, they never see me. I don't exist in the bathroom. Like I have to do all kinds of tricks to get soap or how to get water to come out for me. And I always thought it was just like maybe how I was approaching the sink, as opposed to there actually being some bias associated with that. But what I want to know is there, like, as you're saying about this whole education process, is there a way that we have, or is there literature available so that we can educate ourselves about how to almost avoid some of the things? Because sometimes you can fall into those algorithms based upon what you put in. So you know how your mom used to say, or not your mom, but my generation, we were very conscientious about what we named our children, because we never wanted our children to be discriminated against because they automatically said, oh, look at that name, that's probably an African-American kid. So it was a way of trying to beat the system. So I just wanted to know if there's resources for things like that in regards to these algorithms.
Okay, hold that thought. Thank you, Marcita. And Andrea, New Mexico, what's your question or comment?
Hi there. So I'm a master's graduate candidate, and I'm working, my thesis is on racial propaganda and basically how it's disseminated. Can you give me advice on how I can go about using algorithms or data scraping to go to specific websites that are not technically mainstream, specifically they're on the dark web, to kind of gather this information? I mean, how do I use algorithms like that?
Okay, Mutale, those are totally different questions.
I'm going to start with the doctor first. Okay. Luckily, there is a glut of literature around this. Ruha Benjamin at Princeton, Race Before Technology, Race After Technology, which is a really great primer. And then my good sis that I'm here in Vancouver with, Sophia Noble, Algorithms of Oppression. In terms of beating algorithms, we're actually not going to be able to beat them. We are in an automating economy. They are across 19 industries and projected to bring in $3.5 trillion worth of value each year to business. So what we have to do is get in there, get in the game, and make sure that these algorithms are better. And these are high paid jobs. These are people that are making 6 figures very close to graduation. And I can certainly, Reecie, I can send a much more full resource sheet around that. In terms of scraping the dark web, first, I cannot remember your name from New Mexico, my sister, but I will pray for you because that is dangerous work. But certainly when I've done work with Twitter, what I was able to do was to get an academic account and then use their API. If this doesn't make any sense to you, I will send a resource share. But once you can get registered, well, this is the dark web. If you can get hold of their API, which is a coding system that enables you to read the internet, and then make sure that you have very clear search terms, you will be able to see those conversations. The conversation I've been obsessed with for a couple of years is the hashtag Kamala isn't black. For research, and I was able to really get a great data set. And the thing that I will say to you, I don't study the dark web, was that many of those tweets were coming from the right wing. They were actually white-led right-wing groups promoting that narrative. I say that so that in your own research, remember to follow the money. Don't just follow what's online with those messages.
Woo! Just hats off to you. Oh my God. This is like a TED Talk, or like what's the fancy words for stuff, like a classes in session. Okay, like I'm just it's crazy. We're pretty much running out of time on the show. Greg, I'm going to get to you right after the break. But Mutale, thank you so much for the work that you do. We've corresponded before even the opportunity to have you come on this show. And you really are making space for Black people in the disinformation space, in addition to the stuff that you're doing around technology. I mean, I guess it's all in the same thing, right? But I really appreciate you, because you're one of those people, you'll make that introduction, you'll send that email, you know, you're gonna bring people in with you. That's truly who you are. And so thank you so much for sharing your knowledge.
And give my love to Baby Boss.
I will.
So in love with that baby. Oh my goodness. And God bless your family. Erica, it was great to meet you. And I'm going to go back to my afternoon. But thank you for having me on.
Thank you. And congratulations
again.
Sis.
Congratulations.
Bye-bye.
Safe travels.
Ooh, okay. This has been such a fun show. I'm tripping on how amazing this show has been. And I think it's amazing. Greg, we're going to get to you right after this break. So hold on just a little bit longer. Karen Rebels, Karen Hunter Show, SiriusXM Urban Family. We will be right back. Hey, y'all. It is Reecie Colbert. Almost ready to close out the Karen Hunter Show, filling in for Karen Hunter. It's a Beyoncé Renaissance type of day. Shout out to the DJ, Anthony, and to the Karen Hunter production team. I know she starts off the show giving out the shout outs. So shout out to Anthony, shout out to Alexa, shout out to the wonderful Karen Hunter Show production team. Oh, and Amina. Sorry, shout out to you, Amina, as well. And of course, shout out to you, Erica Savage Wilson, for rocking the show with me. How you doing, girl?
Girl, I appreciate you. I'm doing fantastic. Shout out to the whole Karen Hunter production team. Anthony has been taking care of us. Alexa, Amina. Shout out to the Queen Karen Hunter. And shout out for you, sis. Girl, you are holding it all the way down, honey. The Twitters are with it. So
thank you. Thank you. Well, you know who else I have to shout out, though? I have to shout out Greg, because Greg has been patiently waiting to give us this comment. You know, one thing about me when I do the shows, I like to talk to the people. I like to take as many calls as I can. I hate to keep people waiting, but sometimes you got to keep people waiting because of the show, which, by the way, I'm keeping them waiting even longer by talking. So, Greg from Georgia, what's your comment? Welcome to the Karen Hunter Show. Thank you for waiting so much.
Hey, Reecie and guests, how y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
All right. I'm a 68-year-old Black man. I first heard of you on the Clay Kane show, and you so authentic and real. I just love you to death.
Oh, thank you.
I looked at YouTube, and some client called in one show you was on. I don't know if it was Roland Martin or who. Called you the black Joe Madison, the female Joe Madison. I don't know if you remember that or not, but you continue to be just the way you are. I love you so much.
Oh, thank you so much.
And I want to do a PSA to the Black men here in Georgia. It's my understanding that they're not supporting Stacey Abrams and the Democratic ticket like they should, but if they need to step up. I love my Black women. I don't know what I'd do without them. Thank God for the Black women, but these men need to tighten up. Get up off their ass and tighten up and I'm losing the train out. If they vote for the MAGA Republicans and they taking over, they might as well just put a noose around their own neck. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Greg, for the words of encouragement and for just letting everybody know like what's at stake here. In Georgia, Erica, you have Georgia roots. What's your take on what's happening in Georgia right now?
So I love that Greg identified and let everybody know who he was. He's a Black man. He's 68 years old, letting you know what generation he belongs to. And it's letting me know and that he had the message that he had. So from one Georgian to another, Greg, bless you, appreciate you, glad that you got on a national station to share that message. And this is and it goes back to, Mutale we just had on and the work that you do, Reecie, around disinformation. And the campaign is working. The voter suppression is working. And it is, as Greg said, is working to the detriment of Black people. Listen, we can laugh and kiki about a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Some stuff, y'all, is just, is grown, is sacred, and it does not it does not warrant our laugh to make it seem like, well, it's not a big deal. No, it is a big deal. Those big three pieces of legislation that were passed in the 1960s, Voting Rights Act, the Housing Act, all of those, the Civil Rights Act, it doesn't just protect us, also other groups as well, that they have been chipping away, they meaning the Death Cult Republicans have been chipping away at the Voters' Rights Act for many years now. They've had successes with regard to the pre-clearances in states that were really needing those type of protections, and they're going further. That the Heritage Foundation has a scorecard where they keep all of their people that are associated with them in check. We've talked about this on other shows we've been on, Reecie. Listen, the stakes are high.
Yeah.
Okay, I've said this before. They're not coming for your neck, they're at your neck.
Period.
Vote, boo. If you have to go by yourself, vote. This is not the time to be repeating your favorite entertainers' disinformation, misinformation, quote and unquote talking points. Get Reese's books. You can get it, you can hear it, you can read it yourself, have somebody read it to you, but get in the game. There's too much at stake. Georgia is one of those states that has a ban on abortion.
Yeah.
You know what's coming after that. Nothing more suppression is coming next. Healthcare, Medicaid expansion, no thank you, Georgia.
Yeah.
It's more coming to the detriment of us. So thank you, Greg, for calling in. Folks in Georgia, get into it, get voting.
Yes, thank you so much, Greg. I in doing the research for this book, I have to say Stacey Abrams has by far the most comprehensive set of plans that I think are also innovative and really speak to the specific challenges of Georgia and actually tackling them. Brian Kemp doesn't even have an issues page on his website. He's like, I'm white, I'm Republican, I'm here, vote for me again, like period. He doesn't even bother to try to articulate a vision for the next term. And here you have Stacey Abrams, who has given so much to the state of Georgia, even after losing, if you want to call it that, that's debatable, but even after she did not, win her race, she raised money, she canceled the medical debt of 100,000 people, 68,000 of those people being Georgia residents. That's something that she did as a private citizen. She's part of an initiative where 100,000 families, I think actually ended up being 200,000 families, got $1,000 one-time checks from an organization. This is not from the government. So when you look at the work that she's done as a private citizen, when you look at the vision that she's articulated for a term as governor, one of the most important things you mentioned, Medicaid expansion. Yep. Brian Kemp, Ron DeSantis, Greg Abbott are Republican governors that in our 12 states, I believe in total, but these are the main ones that people are paying attention to, that have refused to expand Medicaid for no reason whatsoever than to just say that Black guy ain't gonna get no credit for our health care. And they're willing to die on that hill till eternity. He's long gone. I mean, we on the second president after Obama, and they still like, no, we're not giving Black men credit. And so there are really tangible results. There are tangible things that stick. And I think that sometimes Black men get a bad rap in terms of not getting the credit that they deserve, because let's be honest, behind Black women, Black men are the second highest voting bloc, consistent voting bloc for Democrats. So they don't necessarily get the credit that they deserve for that, for really doing their part, because I do believe that they do their part in terms of moving us forward. So I want the Democrats, and I think that Stacey Abrams is doing that. She's having like Stacey talk with the guy, something cheesy, but she's really reaching out to Black men specifically. Obviously, Raphael Warnock does that. But I'm not going to admonish Black men, because they're doing a whole lot more than white women. They're doing a whole lot more than white men. They're doing a whole lot more than Latinos when it comes to making sure that we're getting the policies, or we're trying to support the politicians that are moving us forward. So shout out to Black men, but please stay with us. Okay, stay with us a little while longer. Okay, I know the Republicans coming for you. They say they might be saying stuff that sounds appealing to you, but just stay with us, stay on board just a little while longer, because we really need you this section. Whew, okay, we're almost up. So Erica, I just want one last time for you to tell people how they can follow you going forward.
Thank you, Reecie. Thank you, Karen Hunter. Thank you, Karen Rebels. Y'all, Reecie did an amazing job. Let's make sure that we tweet that out. Congratulations on your second book that dropped today, Must Watch Races, the long and short of it guide to the 2022 midterms. Make sure you do that. You can follow me, the reframedbrain.com. If you go to that website, you can access all of my socials and get in touch with me. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Y'all take care of yourselves and be well.
My girl, Vice President Kamala Harris, always tells me, be kind to yourself. So I'm going to close it out by saying, be kind to yourself. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. Thank you for sharing space with Erica and I. I'm Reecie Colbert, signing off for the Karen Hunter Show, SiriusXM UrbanView family. Bye, y'all. Moving all day.